Good day, Professor Bruno Falissard. Thank you so
Hello.
much for honoring us with your presence on speaking with the past presidents. This is an IACAPAP interview series where we try to sit down with past presidents of our very dear association and, just have an idea of what your journey has been like, what it was like being a past president, what your thoughts are, and what your dreams and aspirations for the association is. So we'll go ahead and start right away. My name is Yewande Oshodi. I'm the current Secretary General of IACAPAP, and I'm really honored to have you, and thank you for accepting our invitation. Can we meet you formally, Professor Bruno Falissard? Who are you? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Yes, I am 63, so I am quite old. I am a child and adolescent psychiatrist since a long time now, but I am professor in public health in Paris Saclay University. And so because of that, I have a particular position in the field of child and adolescent psychiatry. But I love the clinic. I love the clinic and I love teaching. These are my two favorite activities.
Okay, so how did you get into child and adolescent psychiatry? Take us through your growth and training and how you ended up being a child psychiatrist.
Yes, it's quite a mystery, in fact, because at the beginning I studied mathematics and theoretical physics. Yes, and one day I asked myself, well, what do you want to do in your life? Just doing mathematics? And I say, no, I want to become a physician. I want to do medicine. And so I turned. So I was a little bit old. I was 25. And I decided to do some medicine. And I loved it. And one day, I was in a psychiatric department and I saw a patient with schizophrenia. And I have been fascinated by schizophrenia. And so I told myself, I want to become a psychiatrist. And so I engaged myself in psychiatry. And one day during my residency, I had to be in child and adolescent psychiatry, and I had to do clinical interview with children, and I love that. And I don't know why I love that. My colleague said, when for being a child and adolescent psychiatrist, when you meet a child, you want to play with him or her, and this is exactly what happened when I am in front of a patient. I just want to be there and to play, and this is quite a passion. And so I decided to become a child and adolescent psychiatrist, even if at that time it was a little bit complex, because coming from mathematics to child and adolescent psychiatry, wow,
it's a big jump.
yes, it's a big jump.
So you decided to become a child and adolescent psychiatrist, and what has your career pathway been like? You became a psychiatrist, and then what have you done in the course of this? I'm trying to figure out how you became a child psychiatrist and how you became involved with IACAPAP. Help me connect the dots. What happened in between?
Yes, so I had to get a position. And because I studied mathematics and I had a PhD in biostatistics, it was easier for me to become a professor in public health. So I become professor in public health, and I practice child and adolescent psychiatry. And so because of these two activities, I was a lot of involved in teaching research. And I was engaged in the Helmut Remschmidt research seminar from the very beginning, and involved in IACAPAP because of that. And finally, we felt with our colleague in IACAPAP that public health could be something important for IACAPAP, because of global health, because of the question of the the planet, the different type of practice according the continent, etc. And
Yeah.
because of that, I was involved more and more in IACAPAP up to become president.
Yes. So that's an amazing journey, how you're able to connect public health and child and adolescent psychiatry in your career as an example, and then how it's become relevant even in you ending up as one of the past presidents. You were president of IACAPA between 2016 and 2018. Would that be correct? Do I have my dates right?
Yes, that's it.
Yes. And what if you when you think about your reflections of being a president and being in IACAPAP, what were your challenges, your successes, your what was it like? You know,
The big challenge was the internet.
the internet.
It was before, yes, it was before
Okay.
COVID, and it
Hmm.
was at the moment, it was just at the beginning of Zoom.
Okay.
And so before that, we have to communicate by phone or by plane.
Okay.
And which for IACAPAP, it was a big challenge, because it is an international association, a global association. We need to meet each other. And before internet, before Zoom, it was quite complex on a logistic point of view. And suddenly, we had a tool, the internet, Zoom, etc., that made it possible to be with each other much more frequently.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, of course, because of that, we dealt with the e-textbook, Joe Ray e-textbook, which has been a complete success, to have a textbook in child and adolescent psychiatry that is available for all over the planet in English and in other languages. And so we have to support Joe in the development of the e-textbook, which was possible because of the internet.
Yes.
And we developed the MOOC, the Massive Online Open Course, essential of child and adolescent psychiatry around the planet, with professors that come from Africa, South America, Europe, North Asia, etc. And so it is the possibility to see child and adolescent psychiatry with different faces, different age of professor. And we discover with the MOOC that in fact everybody are interested by child and adolescent psychiatry. When you have these courses that are free, you realize that teacher, nurse, parents, grandparents are interested by that because perhaps their students, their daughter, their son have psychiatric problem and they want to be involved and to understand what happens. And being able for IACAPAP to provide this knowledge was a real breakthrough.
Yeah. So it looks like the internet really gave you opportunity to connect with all the different colleagues around the world and provide these services that were far-reaching to the rest of the world. That's amazing, and definitely I can attest it's been a huge success. The MOOC and the textbook. Were there any difficulties apart from the early days without the internet that you can recall that maybe we've overcome those difficulties, or maybe we still haven't? In your term, what would those things be if there were other difficulties at all?
Yes, the difficulties that happened at that moment was the emergence of the concept of mental health, and mental health emerged at the price of a disengagement about psychiatry. And this is true all over the world, even in WHO, who speak a lot about mental health. And so we had to struggle and to say, okay, mental health is fine. Global health is fine. Dealing with all children is fine. But some children really do need more help than the other.
Yeah.
Some children do suffer a lot. And this is not only a question of mental health. This is a question of care, of psychiatry. And before this day, it was quite obvious for politicians that there was medicine and psychiatry. But suddenly, when mental health emerged, Everybody wanted to deal with mental health. And because of that, money didn't go for patients that need the most. And this inequality is really the problem, and it is still a problem.
I think so. It's still a problem. So a lot of funding seems to be directed towards mental health generally, but not psychiatry specifically and psychiatric disorders. Yeah, so true. And so as you observe that challenge, I wonder if you do have any thoughts around possible solutions, question number one. And then secondly, if you can highlight other ways in which IACAPAP has been impactful apart from the textbooks and the MOOC. So two questions in one. How do we solve this problem about mental health versus psychiatry? And how has IACAPAP been impactful?
We had to advocate. We have to speak to politicians. And in particular, to find politicians that were involved because of their family with psychiatric problem, because most politicians, they don't understand child and adolescent psychiatry. For them, ADHD, autism, this is a mystery and this is scary. When they face the problem in their own family, you can say, okay, we know each other what happens. Now we are going to discuss and we are going to be able to fix things. And so advocacy is something important. Well, the other point about IACAPAP and is, the question of universality of evidence-based medicine, which is really a problem with the question of implementation. You live in Africa, Yewande, and of course, most of research are done in Occidental country. Evidence-based practice and treatment are evidence-based in Occidental country, but is it true that there are evidence in your country?
For my country, probably not. Probably no. We need to just a fresh set of evidence, or at least confirm if that evidence is correct for that setting.
Exactly. And so this is very important also to advocate this to your politician, because I realized in many countries that politicians say, okay, in America they do that and this is evidence-based, so in my country you have to do the same thing. Yeah. But we have to say to politicians, no, you have different families in Nigeria. The way that the family is involved is different. And so you cannot think psychiatric care without thinking to the family. And so you have to adapt treatment and care to local resource. And I remember Olayinka, that you know very well, that is also a past president of IACAPAP. She said about Nigeria, we are not in a low resource country, we are in a different resource country.
Very true.
Different resource.
Very true. And we should not necessarily feel we must take the evidence from the West or the high-income countries and feel it works in the different resource countries.
Exactly. This is the reason why.
Yeah, very thoughtful. Yes, that's a very important point you're making. You were saying this is the reason why?
This is the reason why today there is a concept of implementation research that is very scientific. And so once you have evidence practice, you have also to do research on how to implement the treatment and the care.
Yeah, I think the benefits of such implementation research allows you to accommodate for cultural contexts, when you are implementing it. Well, thank you very much for those thoughts. And back to my question about IACAPAP and its impact. What ways do you think IACAPAP has influenced you as a person and made impact globally, generally? Maybe from you first and generally. What has been the impact of IACAPAP on your career and your life?
On my career, obviously, suddenly I had huge responsibilities. And on the shoulder,
heavy
because Yes, because you have to represent child and adolescent psychiatry on the planet. On a symbolic point of view, you represent the discipline on the planet, and so this is a huge responsibility. But okay, but also this is extremely stimulating.
Yes.
On a more personal point of view, I learned a lot. And I will just give you an example. I was discussing with Daniel Fung. Daniel Fung was also president. He is the past president of IACAPAP at the moment. I was discussing with him, and I was saying, okay, we have the biopsychosocial model in psychiatry. But biopsychosocial does not mean nothing. It means nothing because it means there is everything. Bio, psycho, social, this is everything. And he told me, okay, Bruno, but in Singapore, we have the bio, psycho, social, and spiritual model.
Okay.
And I realized that in Occidental country, we miss the spiritual part of human being.
Very true.
And you cannot do psychiatry. By definition, psychiatry is with the mind. You cannot do psychiatry without thinking that our patient, our family, have a spirituality. They have a religion. And in our research, we never look for that. And so we are biased because of our culture. We are all biased. And belonging to IACAPAP, we realize our bias. And this is really an amazing gift.
Yes. And just being able to interact with colleagues from all parts of the world, and you and Professor Daniel Fung interacting like that has opened your eyes to a part of thinking that maybe your bias may not have allowed you to think about. And I think we all have our biases at times.
Exactly.
Yeah. It is an amazing organization and association because it's global, and we have the opportunity of, having professionals from all around the world at different stages of their career being in the IACAPAP. So if you would advise early careers in the field of child and adolescent mental health, child and adolescent psychiatry, what will that advice be for upcoming early career professionals in the field?
Okay. I think a psychiatrist is like a human being. A child and adolescent psychiatrist has two legs. One leg is about science, one leg is about the clinic. And both are important, but none can be alone. And some colleagues believe that being a scientist, I have the knowledge and I know everything about patients. No. Science is only a little part of knowledge. You have also to include culture, religion, family, etc., etc., and the complexity of our disease. We know very, very few things about our disease and our patient. So we need humility. But on the other way, if you consider that science is nothing because of the complexity of disease, you are not using your left leg because science is important. And so you know, this is and this is different for cardiology or oncology. In cardiology, in oncology, science is big and clinic is a little bit small. But in our profession, and this is a fascinating aspect of child and adolescent psychiatry, we have two legs that have to be solid, science and clinic.
And we must stand on the two legs, not stand on one leg or stand on the other. So it seems like you're telling the early career professional to make sure that they are balanced. The science should be strong and the clinical work should be strong also, so that they can be balanced professionals. I hope they will take to that advice and grow their career in that area. As I begin to round up, I'm wondering about your thoughts around the vision that you would have for the IACAPAP. Being a past president, I'm sure you've had dreams and you probably still have some things you desire to see in the IACAPAP, or suggestions for the coming, leaders and all that. What will those thoughts be?
Well, it is in line with all what we discussed. I think that today there is, that around the planet there is today a question about colonialism. We are different countries and we have a history, and there is a history of colonialism. I come from a country which is France, where we have an history of colonialism, and this has an impact on medicine and on psychiatry. As we said, this colonialism could make it that we impose to some country some treatments that are not adequate to their specificity. But on the other way, all human beings have a brain with amygdala, with a prefrontal cortex, etc. So there is also a universality with human being. And I think that finding the balance between universality of the brain, etc., and specificities and social context with colonialism, social economical inequalities, etc., this is a very big deal for the future of child and adolescent psychiatry. We are not very clear at the moment in this balance, and we have to make a lot of progress.
So you raise a very, very interesting conversation about colonialism and balancing the universality and the different contexts. Would this apply to clinical practice, or does it apply to other things apart from clinical practice? Or I'm just thinking about, when you think about the vision of IACAPAP, how do you want this thought to play a role in our creation of the future of IACAPAP? Universality versus the context. How does it play a role?
Exactly. For instance, when we do Congress, IACAPAP Congress is something very important. This is a moment where people all around the planet are meeting and discussing. And so we have to open the session to many different people, to people that think different, and not only to VIP that deliver a speech that are in line with only a very important scientific paper. You see what I mean? This is often what we see in international congress. Male with ties, very serious, etc., etc. No, we have to provide speech from people that come from very different areas so that we can benefit from this diversity. On the other way, we need not to be lost in specificities. We have also to know autism, for instance. It is likely that autistic patients in some way are similar in Nigeria and in France because they have a different brain. And so being clear with that in Congress is important, and for treatment too. For treatment, we have to be aware that, as we said before, perhaps some treatment. If you take, for instance, stimulants in ADHD, for some patients in all countries, stimulants are helpful, but in many countries, in fact, ADHD becomes a social issue because of the school that impose to children to be very quiet, to sit on a chair. And if they cannot sit on a chair, they will be considered with ADHD and with the risk to take a stimulant that is not really adapted. Perhaps the school could be adapted to the patient. So you see, to see to what point patients have a real psychiatric disorder, or if it is only a social issue, this is crucial for the future of our profession.
Yes. So universality versus context and culture specific issues. We need to keep that in mind as an association, as we plan our conferences, as we provide services, I think also as we conduct research, it sounds like that would also be an important place
Of
to
course,
think about it. Yes,
of course.
yes.
And for research, obviously, and on a very practical way, the development of qualitative research
Hmm.
is really a challenge because it is sustainable. You can do qualitative research easily in all countries, and with that type of research, you can grasp the local specificities.
Yes, yes, yes. So I think you have given a very important food for thought for the IACAPAP so that we can be mindful of this as an association as we continue to grow. Professor Bruno Falissard, it's been very nice speaking with you. I want you to just give a few final thoughts and really advice. You've said a lot of things from your wealth of knowledge and experience already, but final thoughts for the IACAPAP as we bring this interview to an end. What will your final thoughts be as we round up, or if there's any burning thought or topic you'd want to round up with? I'll be happy to hear from you.
Yes, when you are a physician, there is a temptation to be alone in front of the patient or in front of the family. We know as a child psychiatrist that being alone is not a good thing. Most often, this is a teamwork. And
Yes.
this is exactly what show IACAPAP. Being all together with different culture, we learn a lot from each other. And this is a treasure that we have to keep. And for this reason, IACAPAP is an international organization that is very valuable.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for reminding us that we have a very precious treasure in the IACAPAP, the treasure of not being alone, of being connected globally, of walking this journey together, learning from one another, sharing experiences. On behalf of the Bureau of IACAPAP, I want to say a big thank you to you, Professor Falissard, for your time, for sharing your experience and your memories and your thoughts and dreams for IACAPAP. I want to thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Yewande, and see you soon.
Okay, see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.